When I was offered to join the Avatar program, no one told me about the rules. They showed us beautiful presentations, bioluminescent forests, freedom of movement, a second life. They told us that Pandora was just an environment, a planet, an ecosystem. But on the very first day, before I signed the papers, one of the doctors leaned in and whispered to me, "If something goes wrong, do not try to return on your own." He immediately straightened up and continued the protocol as if that sentence had never existed. Back then, I didn't understand what it meant. Now I do. It was the first and most important warning. The first connection was perfect. I opened my eyes in a different body, taller, stronger, lighter. Breathing was deep and clean, as if the air itself was entering my lungs. The world didn't look alien. It was too right. The forest wasn't a background. It was attention. I felt how the soil reacted to my steps, how the leaves slightly changed direction as I passed by. In my headset, the operator's voice reminded me of basic protocols, but there were no rules. No one told me what I couldn't do. That was the first rule. If they didn't give you instructions, it means you are already inside a system that needs no explanation. In the first few days, we treated it like a game. Some laughed, testing the limits of their bodies. Others ran too far from the base. Nothing bad happened immediately. That was the second rule, which we learned too late. Pandora never punishes you right away. It remembers. At night, everything changed. On Pandora, the night isn't just darker, it's alive. The light doesn't come from the sky, but from the ground, from plants, from creatures that only wake up when humans sleep. The forest began to emit a low hum, like the breathing of a massive beast. I learned the second real rule by accident. Never disconnect during the night cycle. One of the operators noticed my pulse was racing and tried an emergency extraction. The connection broke for a second. Just one. And in that second, I felt that my body was not empty. Something stayed inside when the signal vanished. After this, I began to hear the whisper. Not through the comms, not through the gear, right inside my head. It didn't speak in words. It felt like the sensation of someone standing too close behind your back, but you can't hear their steps. Third rule appeared in one of the internal reports. If you feel a presence, do not turn around. I broke it. I turned around and saw that the forest was looking at me the same way I was looking at it. Not with eyes, with intent. On the base, strange things began to happen. People left the pods later than planned. Some earlier, and some didn't come out at all. Their avatars continued to move, performing tasks, reacting to commands, even returning to base. Fourth rule: if an avatar is active without an operator, do not try to make contact. One tech broke this rule. He just wanted to check for a response. They found him sitting in an empty pod, with wide eyes that no longer blinked, and with brain activity levels that shouldn't be possible. Over time, we realized that Pandora doesn't accept guests. It counts. It compares. It remembers everyone.
The fifth rule was whispered between shifts. Never say your real name while inside an avatar.
I heard someone say my name in the forest. Not in English, not with a voice. It was like a vibration inside my skull, as if the very soil recognized me. After that, I began to forget my own face. When I looked in a mirror, it felt as if my reflection lingered for a fraction of a second too long. Each connection lasted longer than the previous one. We stopped asking why. Sixth rule: if it feels like you've been inside too long, it means you've been there exactly as long as needed. My real body became weak. Muscles wouldn't obey. My heart beat unevenly. But the avatar grew stronger, faster, calmer, too calm to be human. Once I returned and found that my capsule was in a different row, I was sure it was a mistake. Seventh rule stated, if the equipment changes position, do not ask why. I noticed how the staff avoided looking at me, as if they already knew that I was no longer quite here, or that a part of me didn't return at all. On Pandora, places began to appear that weren't on the map. Trails leading deep into the forest where the light grew dim and sounds grew muffled as if the world was closing its ears. Eighth rule was the simplest and the most terrifying. Never follow what looks familiar. I saw a silhouette that looked just like me. It moved exactly as I did. I didn't follow it, but I knew it knows where I am. The last connection was supposed to be short. A control, just to close this cycle. No, when I opened my eyes, the link didn't activate. No voice, no signals. The silence was absolute. Ninth rule I remembered all too clearly. If the connection is lost, do not try to return. Return must be granted. I stood in the forest and felt it approaching. Not aggressively, patiently, as if it was waiting for me to stop resisting. When I was finally disconnected, I didn't feel the difference. I looked at my hands and wasn't sure which ones were real. 10th rule I found later on the back of an old badge that didn't belong to me. If you doubt where you are, it means the system has already chosen for you. Sometimes I dream of Pandora. Sometimes of the base. Sometimes I wake up and hear a breath that doesn't belong to me. And if you are watching this video and think it's just a movie, remember, we were told the same thing. Avatar is not a body. It is a door. And not everyone comes back.